It's another brief moment in time. We get to see the change on the timelines. We're shifting, twisting bits of technology, lifting up the little bits of reality. While the train tracks through the space-time, we're surely randomly sparking the photons around me. Let the light flow from the heat show when the photons ignite, highlighting yo. Then you'll know it's that time when we force a change in our mind's eye. A little bit lit us with something in us. It's almost like we something else, autonomous, or maybe perhaps it's that missing piece you need. Perhaps it's that simple message we're searching. Perhaps it's just a different time framing. Us peeling back the fake you in the mainframe. Getting excited, so are the photons. Don't laminate so we can change the coupon. Let me raise the hash rate, submit the coupon, fake it, replace the rate with my major bags. Crypto technology, like cryptographic money and hashing your life into a set of QRs. It doesn't matter, 'cause this was 3D, change perspective. Go to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is me, 3D, and hopefully I am going to change your perspective today on, of course, how and why and as Bitcoin has always been the Bitcoin leader. So this is something that we haven't really talked about a whole lot, but I know, so let me just kind of jump into it instead of trying to explain myself. What am I saying? Something happened not too long ago, and I thought maybe we should really look into this. For years, Bitcoin was known as the slow adopter, the king of no change. Bitcoin was actually never really any of these things. Bitcoin is careful on what to adopt, and it just always seems slow. So now when Bitcoin does adopt something like SegWit, or like SegWit specifically felt corporate. It made it kind of like, was Bitcoin becoming corporate Bitcoin or something like that? And even though SegWit was very commercialized in nature, the tech was solid. So Bitcoin didn't actually become corporate, but corporate builders came to Bitcoin. And that's what SegWit was a sign of. Now, Taproot is the sign of the same thing. It's not that Bitcoin has changed. It's actually that other forms of other industries, those industry builders have come to build on Bitcoin. So that is the perspective I hope to hand to you today. Builders are coming to Bitcoin, and I want to prove this to you by showcasing how every major Bitcoin adoption of non-natural crypto block technologies, or previously used digital block-based database form digital currency technologies, a lot of words to be able to say cryptocurrency, Bitcoin has been the guinea pig for quite a bit of non-traditional financial currencies and financial systems. All right, so that is a lot to put into one sentence. So I want to thank today's partnerships, and I want to thank today's teamings of sponsors, partners. I don't know. There's more than one of these. So first off, I want to thank The Organized for teaming up with Bitcoin Live Digital Broadcasting DB, because Bitcoin Live DB and The Organized is a powerhouse combo. I see new heights for both organizations. Now, if you haven't checked out any of The Organized early morning broadcasts for stacks or other topics that seem to be taking off with every go on every morning, and then find them out on X, Twitter, among other social platforms. Now, I do want to thank today's sponsor specifically. That is Shieldfolio for sponsoring today's episode. They also sponsor pretty much the whole Bitcoin network, it seems like, or the Bitcoin Live DB network, I should say. And if you haven't seen what a Shieldfolio really is, well, they're a little black book that are made from from stone paper. So they're going to be fade resistant, tear resistant, even water resistant. So you know the info and secrets you store in your Shieldfolio will last and survive whatever you throw at it. I personally have a Shieldfolio and I use it for my website's info, contacts, crypto keys, among other things. So these are basically like little black books that are pocket sized and ready to be by your side regardless of your adventure in real life or online. And I do personally actually own one of these. I do use them for various different things, including like our house bills, like who we actually pay what to, as in like this company is our blank provider, and then information about that, you know, like login information and password we might need when we show up. It's really super handy, and like I said, pocket size. It's just in my pocket, ready to go when we need it. Now we'll have this. You see right there, it's a big old QR. Now you see there's a smaller QR on the bottom of the screen, right there in the middle. It's the same QR. So if you can go to this website at any point in time watching today's episode and use the discount code BitcoinLive20, get 20% off today. And like I said, we're going to have that on the screen throughout today's episode. Don't think that you can't get it. You can get it throughout the entire day's episode, including near the end. So let's go ahead and roll in with the roll-ins before we actually roll in. Thank you again, Shieldfolio, for sponsoring Bitcoin Live Network DB and today's episode. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into what it is that we're doing, because you know, wherever you're at, however you're watching this, if you have a chat display in front of you, you should be able to tap into it, and if you can, you should be able to see, well, it on screen. So here we go. We are going into it. We are talking about it, and like I said, I really am hoping to change your perspective on these things. So, well, welcome to the photon of the greater fourth dimension of the quantum machine. I kind of messed that up again. I always mess it up. It's the photon of the greater fourth dimension quantum machine. How come I can't get that right? Alright, so we got right here in front of us the main screen. Throughout today's episode, we're going to drop little QRs for everything that we go to that has a QR. So you can actually scan it, play along, go along, or even if you're watching this later, see where we were. Now, if you are anywhere, however you see this, you can go to the YouTube and check out the description for all the links. They should be up and available already. Now, this is the organized. This is that team up that we were talking about earlier. I just wanted to show you I used them for the QR example. The organized media right here. They are live almost everyone with early morning broadcasts and stacking stacks and some other stuff. So they're your daily hookup on what's digitally popping. Go and check them out. Of course, you can see all sorts of great names up on here. So one thing we've been doing that we're going to keep on doing is the free pre-search query. So today's free pre-search query is a banger that allows you to see how pre-search AI actually can help you find, you know, hard to find information. Now, there are a bunch of other useful links right after it, so that's really nice. Now, the only thing I like about the pre-search AI is you actually have to interact with it. You actually have to use it in order for it to be used, for it to pop in, just like you see now. And at any point in time, you can actually shut it off in settings. Nice. Oh, it says clap. I have clap. Wait a minute. Hold on. So I did not use this query, but okay, you can stop now. I did not use this query, but it is here for you to gain more knowledge. Basically, later on after this episode, or if you find this topic to be somewhat interesting or whatever, boom, here you go. Find out more about today's topic through pre-search for free. Ain't gonna cost you a dime. It actually really is free. It's what I like about pre-search. So we need to catch up. Okay, before we go any further, we got to actually catch up with today's episode. So I am saying all technologies Bitcoin uses have never been used before. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm actually saying is Bitcoin gets proposals sent that when Bitcoin actually adopts from, they are generally technological upgrades that have been never used in digital currency space. Now, those tend to be upgrades Bitcoin goes for. we do have ones like Litecoin, Darkcoin, Beancoin, for example. Two of those, by the way, are actually older than Bitcoin, that are basically very much the same technology, and not meant for digital currencies, that were adopted into digital currencies. So Litecoin adopted something, Darkcoin and Beancoin both adopted something that we didn't see in digital currencies, that either Bitcoin adopted later, or Bitcoin still to this day has never adopted. And so you know, out of the ones I'm talking about, Bitcoin's adopted all of them. Okay. We are going to go over some history of the little technologies within digital currencies, and then I'll show you how Bitcoin actually is the digital freedoms influencer in currencies around it. Okay. And even stuff like profit off of that, like exchanges. So let's jump back into it. Let's go. Let's do this. Alright, so there was the pre-search. Boom. Let's go on to the next. Go on to the next. So here we go. Script. That's right, script mining. We are on the Wikipedia in reader mode, so it might be a little bit confusing for you. And you see it's actually S-script. I don't care. Script. So why we hinted at Litecoin actually adopted this first. And as odd as it is, I'm pretty sure Bitcoin had some form of announcement or something like that that existed just before this came out. And it's even possible that when S-script or script actually did come out, Bitcoin was in the process of being written into code. But like many unbelievably great technologies that sit at the feet of corporations, this was not actually released to the public until about 2016, and at that time Script was then released, and Litecoin saw it and immediately used it very quickly. So that is actually how it got, Litecoin got to it before Bitcoin, mostly because Bitcoin was busy being built. And then when it went public, Litecoin just happened to, like, it went public and then Litecoin came out. So, very useful for S-script, really. Kind of helps prove its legitimacy even more. Okay, so we want to read a couple of informational points. So, in cryptography, S-script is a password-based key derivation function by Colin Percival. In March 2000, okay, so created by Colin, I got totally messed up on this last time. Created by Colin in 2009 of March. Originally for the Snap online backup service, which very few people even remember that stuff. A long time ago. The algorithm was specifically designed to make it costly to perform large-scale custom hardware attacks by requiring large amounts of memory. So in 2016, the S-script algorithm was published, and a simplified version of it was used as a proof-of-work scheme by a number of cryptocurrencies, first implemented by an anonymous programmer called Artsford in Tennisbricks, which then followed by Fairbricks and then Litecoin soon after. So as we see here, technically Litecoin is not the first one to use it in cryptocurrencies. Tennisbricks was the first cryptocurrency to use it, and then Fairbricks was to use it, and then Litecoin was to use it. And I guarantee anybody watching this, they do not know these first two coins. Yeah, guarantee it. So a password-based key derivation function is generally designed to be computationally intensive, so that it takes a relatively long time to computate, and then some legitimate users only need to perform the function once per operation to authenticate, and then the real time is negligible. However, a brute force attack would need to likely perform this operation billions of times, at which point that requirement becomes very significant. And that's kind of the whole point of why we're using it with cryptocurrencies, right? You don't want all your cryptocurrencies to be able to just jump and throw a hash out in the middle out into the pool very quickly. You want them all to have some kind of workload to get it out there. So, nice. So it does come to a good point and reason why it works, what they're doing now. Originally, people who was originally using this, they had custom hardware, and it was made for a general chip, which made it easier for other people to strip it down, generalize it, and make it easier to use. just like the last episode or two ago, we talked about stuff like that and why it's really important to be able to strip stuff down. Ooh, wow. Thank you, Twitch. Thank you. I can't go in and just strip them. I can't just bump them off, or else I would. Sorry. Alright, so we're going to keep on moving. Because next is SegWit. So many people don't really understand what SegWit is and why it is like a big thing, especially since it was right after or just at the cusp of what seemed to be the end of the big blocks versus small blocks debate, as Bitcoin locked in that 1 megabyte block size. So SegWit was like a huge deal. And there's like 3 ways I seem to see people remembering it. Like when I look around and I talk to people, there's 3 ways they remember it. If you were a small blocker, you probably remember a bunch of narrative spin articles about the dangers of either dropping it or not dropping it. Like either going to SegWit or not going to SegWit. You saw dangerous same thing both ways. And then if you were a big blocker, you probably remember the BHC split. Remember Bitcoin Cash coming out of it. And then if you were pretty much on neither camp, you probably remember everyone blaming everyone else for things that were untrue and never happened even to this day. Well, I guess part of that did happen. Some of the SegWit issue was people were afraid it was going to go into other things, and it kind of did. So, let's dive into that some, I guess. So if we go to this website right here, Bitcoin takeover, the SegWit Trojan horse to get to the Lightning network. So yes, people did see how SegWit allows for more complex handling of offline transactions, and some said it was a Trojan horse because, there already is a way to go offline with Bitcoin before SegWit, and even verify offline before SegWit. So if you read through this, you can actually learn 2 major camps that sat around the ideal of SegWit. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and read all this. We are just going to show the common opposing side. So right here, need answer with explanation. Does SegWit break the chain of digital signatures of Bitcoin as defined in section 2 of the white paper? Which says we define an electronic coin as a chain of digital signatures. I do believe that is what the public sentiment of electronic coins were at the time. That's not specific to Satoshi Nakamoto, but you'd have to be in cryptocurrency before Bitcoin to have known that. And so the basic point is, well, yeah, if you look at it like that, it did actually. It completely does break it. And we have a video to explain it. Hell yeah. Alright, so this video right here, it fully does explain how SegWit actually breaks digital coin in the fact that it is a list of signatures. So I was, at the time, on the same side as this guy. As odd as it may be for similar reasons of this, and for some of what we're like, you can already, like, basically a lot of us were saying, you can already do this part in signature anyways. Now, eventually, I did come to the terms that, well, SegWit lowers the amount of actual code or data needed to do that. Really, it just lowers what's needed minimally to create a transaction header. And lowered minimums does equal lower fees for those utilizing those new minimums. Because it's not a native thing, you don't have to use SegWit, even to this day. So the choice was there, and it still is there. Perfect. But this guy, Dr. Peter Roizen, is correct in what he does say in this video. It's absolutely correct. It does do what it does to Bitcoin. It does break the original design. But however, that doesn't actually break Bitcoin in practice. I don't know. It does not break Bitcoin in practice. It only breaks it in design. And that's it. So for me, SegWit was like this big thing where we always knew there was much you could do with Bitcoin without breaking it, with, you know, and requiring a hard fork. But SegWit showed you could break fundamental forces behind Bitcoin without breaking Bitcoin. And as long as you worked within the bounds of allowance, a soft fork was all you needed. Now, in case you're wondering the difference between like a hard fork and a soft fork, a hard fork creates a fork in the network where people are not agreeing on how the network should handle. And like, that's the Bitcoin Cash thing. We're going to talk about that in a second. What SegWit did was create a soft fork where at a certain point you could choose to do SegWit. And that's it. And it's still like that. You can choose to do SegWit if you choose to. Boom, done, roasted. Perfect. So a hard fork is why we have Bitcoin Cash. Now, I'm going to read the first few paragraphs before I talk about it, because it's a weirdo. Since its inception, Bitcoin users maintained a common set of rules for the cryptocurrency. On July 21st, 2017, Bitcoin miners implemented a software upgrade known as the Bitcoin Improvement Proposal 91, which activated SegWit, for segregated witnesses. So, SegWit was a continuous update as it enabled second-layer solutions on Bitcoin, such as Lightning Network. A group of Bitcoin activists and developers, actually it was like one developer and then one activist, that then caused a group of people and China-based miners to oppose SegWit. Not just oppose it, they opposed quite a bit of it, because they were like, we could just bypass it by increasing Bitcoin's capacity. These stakeholders pushed forward alternative plans which would increase the block size, limit the 8 megabytes through a hard fork. Supporters of the block size increase were more committed to an on-chain medium of exchange function in their perspective. And I say that because we still have an on-chain medium of exchange on Bitcoin without this increase in block size to this day. So, okay, so I was on the same side as, wait, sorry, my thingy just went to the wrong spot. I was not on the same side as these guys. I did say we were going to show common opposing side, because there were really like 5 different takes on SegWit, but only a few major opposing sides. The others kind of agreed but disagreed, and to some extent, these guys, the purists, both are called at times. The Bitcoin never changed is pure Bitcoin purists, and the Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin purists. Both are lying to themselves. They both make up basically the same claim of XYZ thing is bad because XYZ reason. And like I said, SegWit broke fundamentals of Bitcoin, but did not break Bitcoin. Both sides are wrong. So what I mean, again, the camp of Bitcoin never changed is pure Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin. Both of those purist camps are lying to themselves, because it didn't break Bitcoin. Both sides were wrong. So now here is a small list. Thanks to Pre-Search AI. Here's a small list of, and it's not all of the cryptocurrencies, but probably the top 5 SegWit using cryptocurrencies. Notice Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash are both on here. So no Lightning Network. No, not a Trojan. It does allow cheaper onboarding with off-chain transactions. And Bitcoin still trucks on. So didn't die in a fiery hellscape either. So yeah, they were both wrong. Okay, so Mimblewimble was brought to the public via an IRC node around Bitcoin Wizards. And to be honest, many Bitcoin upgrades were completely proposed and implemented in this way. I'm actually going to get out of reader mode because this page is actually kind of cool. So, I was saying, many Bitcoin upgrades were completely proposed and implemented this way before GitHub, before Bitcoin was made. Like, it was just through IRC chats through the longest time. That's how a lot of major Bitcoin upgrades really actually start, in the IRC. And I would say more Bitcoin upgrades have started from the IRC or random comments from other Bitcoiners than the GitHub has ever done. Now, just like SegWit, there are people who would say Bitcoin wasn't the first to implement them, or nor the first to use them. And unlike script mining, Bitcoin really was the first. But that's not all either. Um, hmm. Wait a minute. My list of the I had a list of Mimblewimble. Where'd it go? I guess this was not this link apparently somehow got left out of the outline, which means it's probably not in the description. Alright. Bitcoin was not the only one, but it was the first to use Mimblewimble. Then we have Grin and Beam also using Mimblewimble. And then yes, okay. Now Taproot. Yeah, that was the next one. Taproot. Okay, so Taproot is kind of like SegWit. There's changing one point in the function loop or sign function, which now allows for dynamic transactions, so to speak. Okay. So, I think this page describes Taproot pretty much in the simplest of ways, and like we can just look at it as the easiest way to explain it is in a picture. So we have a bunch of stuff that describes the script tree. Then we have the thing that we call the signature. And then down here, this tweaked public key, that's Taproot. Congratulations. Here we go. Boom. Roasted. I mean, it can sometimes be that simple to explain, but it not really be that easy on what it is. Okay. So far, I've been showing you controversial Bitcoin upgrades, then showing you the other chains using them that upgraded after Bitcoin, with Litecoin script being the only exception thus far. Alright. So we're going to go back into Taproot, basically. Taproot activation on Digibyte, the significance and impact. Now we did list earlier all the ones showing SegWit, all the ones showing Mimblewimble. It's kind of a thing, right? Bitcoin and then others. So of course, Taproot has the same thing. So I kind of want to brief over this. It's a lot of the sauce of what we're going to talk about because it is significant. It had a significant impact, and the significance of a Bitcoin thing on a non-Bitcoin thing should be way more large. It's larger than what you realize. Like going to this one. Okay, look, the very like Bitcoin and Litecoin are two completely different currencies. But the first two to actually use SegWit, I believe, was Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. They were both Bitcoin. And then other currencies started adopting it. Now, Litecoin is very similar to Bitcoin in many, many ways. And it's a lighter version of it, so to speak. And we mean that meaning it's less timing. Not less. Maybe a little bit less code. So, very similar. Now, Zcash is where it starts breaking difference between Bitcoin, and Dogecoin is like old school Bitcoin. So, a lot of these are mostly just Bitcoin. And then we go back to the Mimblewimble. Well, Grin isn't Bitcoin, and Beam isn't Bitcoin. I mean, they're kind of like passion projects. So still, it's really just Bitcoin. And then Taproot was strictly Bitcoin. So Digibyte having probably the large difference between Bitcoin, implementing it is huge. So it rolled out on their BIP9 soft fork in early 2025, marked a significant leap forward in their blockchain. Taproot is a suite of upgrades, actually, originally implemented in Bitcoin in 2021. It has store signatures, pay to Taproot, which is like a kind of like a private transaction, and Merkle's alternative script trees, which is, I believe, a way to hide transactions. So adopting Taproot, Digibyte aims to enhance its scalability, privacy, and smart contract flexibility. Oh, that's right. One of these, either pay to Taproot or the mass, I don't remember. One of these is that smart contract flexibility. And Snore signatures is going to give you a lot of what Ethereum and other things gave you that took a lot of minds to figure out. Snore signatures handle it. Boom. So overall network efficiency definitely going to be coming, and keeping the network to the cutting edge of the Bitcoin technology or blockchain technology, which is that big long phrase I had to say earlier that state the intro. So now we're going to talk about more. So scalability improvements. So Taproot brings notable scalability improvements to Digibyte. By using source signatures and mass, complex transactions can be compressed and combined, resulting in smaller transaction sizes and less data per transaction. Multiple signatures and multi-signatures or multi-sig transactions can be aggregated into a single source signature, rather than each signature being recorded separately. This means that more transactions or complex scripts can fit into a block without bloating it as much as it would have originally, effectively increasing throughput. So I think that's kind of important here. This means that more transactions or complex scripts can fit into a block without bloating it, effectively increasing the throughput. And if we actually went over to this video and actually like watch this guy's video, I mean, trust me, it is a riveting video. I love it. Every second of it makes me go, oh my gosh. But his voice is one of those like voices people like to listen to too. So if we look and we see what's going on, we can see the signature is a part of the Bitcoin. So SegWit allows you to desync the signature to the coin specifically. Okay? It desynced it, allowing you to have a simple minimum or simpler minimum to have more complexity in the system. Okay? Mimblewimble allows you, I believe, to reduce size of things through simplifying complexity, basically. Same basic thing, but in a different way. Taproot is taking that a step further and allowing it to do it 3 different ways. So that way you have more than one, like more, it's like a dynamically doing the same thing. So one was for signatures, one is for, I believe, data structure, and now this one is for basically shitload of shit. And we saw it was one simple tweak. Nice. So in practical terms, Taproot upgrade cuts down on the resources needed to process step, which translates to reduced cost for the users and lowers transaction fees, obviously. Digibyte has always prided itself on the fastest block times and high throughput. Now Taproot further supports this by reducing the blockchain's memory usage and making transactions processing more efficient. In short, Taproot helps Digibyte handle higher volume and complex transactions more smoothly and cheaply, improving scalability, fee, and fee efficiency across the network. Now, how does it improve privacy? What is up, Brosive? Glad to see you in the chat. So, one of Taproot's most celebrated benefits is improved privacy, which Digibyte now inherits with this P2TR, the to pay to Taproot and masked systems, Digibyte can handle complex smart contracts while keeping them disguised as simple transactions. In practice, this means that Taproot output doesn't reveal, rather it was one simple one-to-one payment or a complex multi-sig transaction or even a complex script. They all look the same on chain. So complex spending conditions that were hashed in a mask are only made public if they are used. And even then, only that single branch is revealed, keeping other conditions to that mask private. Something you don't actually have in other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum. Something they're trying to get on Ethereum, I guarantee it. Like, I know they are, because they've been working so hard on getting 0k snarks on Ethereum to work perfectly with smart contracts, and they're getting there. But Bitcoin's had 0k snarks capability since 2016, and they have Taproot since 2021. You don't need the others no more. So, enhanced smart contract functionality. Well, kind of explained a lot already, didn't we? I don't really need to go over all this. It's basically going to allow you to handle more through the UTXO, and that's fine. Overall network efficiency, it kind of makes sense why that's going to happen, right? We're just basically going to make everything as simple as possible into a small, simple signature, and we already have that desynced from the chain, so we're just lowering the minimums. We're literally lowering the minimum. So comparison with Bitcoin's Taproot. Since Taproot was first developed for Bitcoin, Digibyte activation naturally mirrors many of the same benefits, with few differences in implication or implementation. The way they put it in is not much different. Functionally, Taproot on Digibyte works very similar to Taproot on Bitcoin. Both networks see lowered fees due to the new simple output. Now there's a whole bunch of other things coming. There's like, oh, it's just beginning, and that's kind of great. Like, one simple upgrade made a huge difference. And again, this was a soft fork. So far, 3 major upgrades to Bitcoin were soft forks. 3 major upgrades that could be done on other chains as soft forks. Well, we did point out how Bitcoin Cash attempted to not do SegWit through increased Bitcoin capacity and still did SegWit. There's still a SegWit contributor. They still have SegWit. So the soft forking your chain obviously is the better way to go. It allows you to still use the old system if you want. It allows you to use the new system if you want. Perfect. There's this thing about choice. Really important. Really important. Okay. So we're going to the next one. Digibyte goes up more than 13% after improves Taproot activation upgrade. This is before it even got the upgrade. This is just after it got approved. Holy crap. So, one reason why people are letting Bitcoin be the guinea pig. Altcoins generally rely on other currencies to survive. Like, if the token is on other coins chains, if the biggest traded currency is another coin like Bitcoin, well, kind of help. Let me really explain that better. 99% of your altcoins needed Bitcoin at one time to create value behind it. They were using people to trade with it, to obtain their coin, and they were using Bitcoin as a main exchange. So if the altcoin was not sitting on another coins network, like how Stacks is on Bitcoin, or how other coins are on Ethereum, or how other coins are on Wax and things, then it was using Bitcoin as a backer. And so Bitcoin getting the upgrade means, well, the backing value is going to increase. value of that tokens can increase. And then something like Digibyte getting the upgrade after it means now that token is going to increase again. Different from Bitcoin, differentiating from Bitcoin, where the Bitcoin backing value is going to matter less over time, where other altcoins really rely on their backing value, especially if they're on another chain. They're not on their own chain. So here is a Bitcoin correlation map. You don't actually have to believe me, they already exist. Basically, this Bitcoin correlation map is here to help prove which altcoins generally rely on Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin, to be honest, for the longest time, until like ETH or whatever broke the 1,000 level, Bitcoin backed almost all tokens, almost all coins as their liquidity of access. So if Bitcoin adopts something and it goes well, alts gain from it. Then if the altcoin adopts the same technical so Digibyte, then it gains from it. It's like a double profit sword. But also if Bitcoin adopts something that starts to dwindle or die off, like if Bitcoin adopts something that ends up being bad, altcoins have the chance to take the old Bitcoin holders onto their network, allowing for direct growth, which would impact prices. Like, it literally, altcoins can only benefit from Bitcoin being the guinea pig. No joke. No joke. Alright. So, I think this really does say it simply. Bitcoin is considered the guinea pig for cryptocurrencies because it was the first cryptocurrency pioneering the technology and concepts of blockchain, decentralization, and digital currency. That's three things at the same time, because it was not the first cryptocurrency. First one to have blockchain with decentralization as a digital currency. Now, its success and challenges have shaped the development of subsequent current cryptocurrencies. It's actually been shaping the development of subsequent online currencies in general, even like how to fiats online are changing to, US, the central bank digital currencies instead. That's a whole nother topic. Totally is, bro. Now, the media, the clout, the debates, the noise isn't Bitcoin. Right now, the big thing is quantum prevention. And talks that could completely change Bitcoin are happening again. Now, as long as the integrity of Bitcoin, which is as one chooses their own path, let me say it the way it's actually stated on here. The integrity of Bitcoins as one chooses one's own path option holders, and not a burn all tokens not actively sent to brand new wallets that haven't actually been tested in the rough wild, but should be quantum preventive. Well, that's a big long quote. I actually need to say that again. This is one long quote. This is something that people are saying, that because I believe Bitcoin integrity is to choose one's own path of their whole options that they choose to hold, instead of burn all tokens not actively sent to a brand new wallet that has not actually been tested in the rough wild, but should be quantum preventive. Ooh, that's sad. As history has shown, for as long as we are not breaking the integrity of Bitcoin, which again, Bitcoin is as it's used, that's the integrity of Bitcoin, or the motto of user choice is a freedom, with original hardware allowance, so the first miner could return to, and the first node could return to, so that way, if possible, the original Satoshi could return to Bitcoin. I would not want to be the dumbass that burns the tokens of the original creator just because the original creator didn't move their coins by some standard or time measure. Some random person online decided instead of either the coins are there, the system just worked, or the coins are not there, the system just didn't work decades later. Because even to this day, everyone forgets Bitcoin was a project first, an ideal second, and working third. Bitcoin natively didn't even have transactions. So it has come a long way. Do not muck it up. Keep Bitcoin integrity as user choice, not forced hands. Remember at the start when I said something like other builders are coming to Bitcoin? Well, that also includes other tin-foiled mines are coming to Bitcoin as well. As Bitcoin ages, the adopters will span to slowly every type of person. And we are the real users of Bitcoin has to mine, node, and choose the path we want our Bitcoin to go in. Action is the way. It always has been. And that is what Bitcoin aims to teach all.